Let's have some fun. In order to understand Web3 advertising, it's of course helpful to get a primer on Web3. So for those who are not familiar with Web3, the movement or the ethos, as it's commonly referred to, the core aspects or elements include transparency, ownership, and trust. And you can make an argument largely blockchain is the genesis of this opportunity and this movement. So with that said, we'll dive into some of the technical details as we move forward. But first, we'll give you a primer of Permission.io and our mission. So Permission.io allows consumers to earn crypto rewards in exchange for sharing their data with brands. So this, of course, is an opt-in or permission-based model that ultimately creates a zero-party data asset. And this really is a foundation for a true value exchange between brands and consumers. So in Web 2, basically the web that we've kind of grown up with here today, a lot of the big tech companies that we know, these big consumer-facing platforms, Google, Meta, formerly the artist known as Facebook, Twitter, and some of the other big tech players, they really have a stronghold on consumer data through these free platforms that they offer. And in Web3 with Permission.io, what we're ultimately looking to do is have brands ask for the privilege to tell their story, to engage with consumers. And in exchange for this opportunity, consumers can earn a little bit of crypto. And this is, of course, a value exchange where it's attention and data and an opportunity for brands to engage in a new way. So that's really exciting if you've been in the industry for any period of time. And if you think about Web 2 and kind of what we've gotten used to with this attention grabbing, if you will, interruptive ads, floating ads that kind of get in front of your content as you're kind of scrolling along, are things that are just buried in content that kind of interrupt the flow of your content. That's largely referred to as interruptive advertising. And for the most part, it's kind of been the norm up until now. So in Web3, what we're ultimately trying to do is break away from that and get into a more consumer-friendly, of course, permission-based, ask for permission. You know, it's kind of like good manners that your parents taught you growing up. You don't just barge in and you know, try to steal the show. You ask for permission, and then good things can happen from there. So Permission's utility token ASK is positioned to be the utility token for this Web3 landscape that we're looking to help drive. And in addition to the crypto rewards side, we'll talk a little bit more about non-fungible tokens. And I will defer to my colleague Steven in that capacity. But NFTs, as they are, open another set of doors for additional brand engagement opportunities. So if we were to take a step back and just kind of look at some of the macro headwinds in the industry, really consumers are the product that are fueling this $600 billion ad industry as it is today in 2022. And there's just, again, a few companies, a few of these big tech companies that largely dominate the market. And again, it's based on our data collectively. So as third-party cookies kind of slowly exit the stage and privacy walls go up, we're going to see more power going around these data oligarchs that already have a massive position in the market. So with that said, the advertising model is broken. As I mentioned, you've got this interruptive business model that for whatever reason, we just deal with it. And in addition to that, no surprise, we see ad blockers being used more frequently. And there's really minimal to zero value exchange. And that's the reason why consumers are using ad blockers and just saying no mas when it comes to interruptive advertising. And then if you look at brands and agencies, they really have limited options when it comes to media placement and partners. So permission ads, along with this zero party data asset that I mentioned, this is an alternative to the big tech that we all know and well, somewhat love. It's a little bit of a love-hate relationship, I'd imagine, with some folks. But in addition to this alternative with zero-party data and permission ads, it's also an opportunity to be 100% compliant with all of these new consumer data privacy regulations going up. It's an alphabet soup that starts with GDPR, CCPA, DCA. My colleague, Michelle Wimmer, will be able to speak a little bit more eloquently to some of those than me.